I'd like to call to order the Milan Area Schools Board of Education regular meeting for Wednesday, October 30th, 2024. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Thank you to everyone attending this evening, and as well as those who will be watching the recording. All board members are present, and student board members are present except for Ms. Tomaszewski. First up is communications and community engagement. It's time for public comment. A reminder that this meeting is a meeting of the Board of Education in public for the purpose of conducting the school district's business and is not to be considered a public meeting. There are 2 times for public participation during the meeting as indicated in the agenda. When addressing the board, you will be asked to state your name. The board determines the amount of time granted to individuals or groups to speak. Each person shall be allowed to speak for up to 3 minutes. Board members may question speakers but are not obligated to answer questions or make statements or commitments in response to issues raised by the public. In general, such items will be referred to the superintendent for advisement, investigation, study, and/or recommendation, or designated as future agenda items for board consideration. Are there any students who'd like to address the board? Are there any public members who'd like to address the board? All right, we will move on to routine matters for approval. I need a motion to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of October 9th, 2024.
Moved by Rosenleacher.
Support by Murray.
It's been moved and supported to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of October 9th, 2024. Any comments or concerns? It's been moved and supported to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of October 9th, 2024. Ms. Heike?
Heike, yes. Murray?
Yes.
Pryor?
Yes.
Rosenleacher?
Yes.
Sislo?
Yes.
Farrow?
Yes.
Gutierrez?
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Next up, I need a motion to approve the minutes of the regular meeting closed session of October 9th, 2024.
Moved by Farrow.
Support by Gutierrez.
Been moved and supported to approve the minutes of the regular meeting closed session of October 9th, 2024. Any concerns? Again, these are in the envelopes. All right. It's been moved and supported to approve the minutes of the regular meeting closed session of October 9th, 2024. Ms. Heike?
Murray?
Yes.
Pryor?
Yes.
Rosenleacher?
Yes.
Sislo?
Yes.
Farrow?
Yes.
Gutierrez?
Yes.
Heike, yes. Motion carries 7-0.
I will collect those. Thank you. All right, next up, we will move on to our strategic plan business in the area of finance and operations. I need a motion to accept the 2024 annual audit as presented in attachment A.
Moved by Heike.
Support by Farrow.
So moved and supported to accept the 2024 annual audit as presented in attachment A. Discussion. Remember at our last meeting, we received a presentation from Raymond in regards to our annual audit. It was a clean audit. Are there any other questions or concerns in regards to that audit?
Mr. Sisler?
Yeah, Mr. Farrow.
I just have a brief comment.
Sure.
Not really a question. I just want the community to know that we did initially anticipate a $1.5 million deficit, but we ended up with a $33,901 surplus. At the time the budget was adopted, there were many unknowns, and we had talked about that a few times, but I wanted the community to know where our situation is currently. The other thing that I wanted to mention is that the district's unassigned fund balance is currently $3.5 million. This represents 11% of total general fund expenditures. The district's general fund is approximately $5 million, which includes our assigned funds. The assigned funds are reserved for future or potential use. This includes things like curriculum, technology, buses, paddock, early childhood center, athletics, buildings and grounds, and until recently the Harness Estate donation, which has since been unassigned. But the reason it's important to mention is that this falls within our goal as a board to be within between 10 and 12%. And so I want the community to know that Krista, Brian, the team in our office, your board, are doing responsible things on your behalf. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Farrow. Others?
Sorry. I also want to let the community know that this is the second year in a row that we finished with a surplus. And so, we, despite some of our challenging times financially, or at least budget-wise with money we are getting from the state, we are working very hard to keep the budget in line, and these last 2 years demonstrate that. And thank you to Krista for all your hard work, because you play a very big role in that, so thank you.
Any others? All right, it's been moved and supported to accept the 2024 annual audit as presented in attachment A. Ms. Ica?
Pryor,
Yes.
Rosenleacher,
Yes.
Sislo,
Yes.
Barrow,
Yes.
Gutierrez,
Yes.
Heike, yes. Murray,
Yes.
motion carries 7-0.
Continuing on with finance and operations, we will receive a 2024 sinking fund millage update from Mr. Gearbaugh.
Thank you, Mr. Sislo, and this is the last update, obviously, before the election on Tuesday. So first, let me say that we do ask all of our taxpayers and registered voters to get out and vote on Tuesday, both for school board and for the sinking fund. Again, if approved, the sinking fund millage on the November 5th ballot will help Milan area schools maintain aging facilities and purchase needed equipment without using dollars intended to be used in the classroom. Funds generated by a sinking fund can only be used for 4 specific purposes. These are defined by the state: repairing facilities and conducting site work, making school security improvements, purchasing instructional technology, and purchasing school buses and transportation equipment. I want to remind our community that our newest building, the high school, is now 20 years old. Our other 3 buildings that are older, Paddock, Simons, and the middle school, were remodeled 14 years ago. Our buildings are in need of repair similar to those needed by a house that's close to 20 years old. Things that we need to repair, and we have talked about, and these are the things that these dollars would be used for, are heating and cooling systems, water main repairs, roof repairs, parking lots and sidewalks, updating our athletic venues so that they are safe for our students to use, carpet and flooring in the buildings, playground equipment that needs to be updated so that it's safe. We also need to continue to purchase school buses, student technology, the Chromebooks that our students use, and other safety equipment. It's important for our taxpayers to understand that the use of sinking funds is highly regulated and is audited by the state of Michigan annually. This oversight guarantees that these funds will be used in only the manners allowed by law. Using sinking funds for these items will allow the district to protect the funds provided to us to educate our students. If the sinking fund is not approved, the district will have to prioritize these needs and will have to pay for some of these necessary repairs and purchases with dollars intended for the education of our students. For more specific information, I ask that folks visit the current topics section of milanareaschools.org. There are slide decks from previous presentations, recordings of those presentations, and an informational flyer that are available. In addition, specific questions can be sent to me at gearbawb@milanareaschools.org. Again, we thank those who have gotten out and voted early or done absentee ballot voting, and we encourage all of our other registered voters to get out and vote on Tuesday, November 5th. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gearbaugh. Other comments? All right. This returns us to communications and community engagement. Brings us back to public comments. Are there any students who'd like to address the board? Are there any public members who'd like to address the board? All right. We will move on to student board member comments. Ms. Virginia Heike.
The Milan High School Interact Club is partnering with the Milan Rotary Club on the annual Elect to Erase Polio campaign to support the global eradication of polio. 4 local pizza vendors, Hungry Howie's, Little Caesars, JD's, and Tamara's, will be sharing a portion of their sales for Election Day next Tuesday, November 5th. Please consider visiting one or more of these local businesses anytime next Tuesday. The flyers in front of you contain specific information, including additional option to support the Milan Rotary Club's annual MHS Scholarship Fund. Thank you to the Interact Club for all the work they put into getting this event set up. And I would also like to point out that it is Halloween tomorrow, and Milan High School students and staff are very excited. And if you dress up for Halloween following the guidelines, the staff will vote on their favorite costume and there'll be candy prizes.
Cool. Thank you for that update. All right. Next up is Assistant Superintendent comments. Mr. McMahon.
Mr. Sislo, thank you. I have a number of grant updates to start. The 35A5 grant will be submitted tomorrow. The grant funds for that fund our literacy paraprofessional at Simons, and if we get extra funds, we'll also go towards before and after school tutoring. Typically, we don't get the extra funds, we just get enough to go towards the paraprofessional. The 35J grant amendment has been submitted. 35J is the grant we put towards elementary teacher professional development. The amendment they needed this time was to provide an update on how the PD is going for the teachers, in terms like registration and progress. It is required that all of our elementary teachers, all teachers in the state that have this grant, conduct the training, so they're just staying on top of us to make sure we're doing it, and we're in good shape there. All of our teachers have got that underway, and it's in conjunction with our literacy coaches and their PD day, so it's kind of ongoing all year. The Section 41 program report will be submitted as soon as MDE modifies an error on their side of the application. It was already due. We have everything completed. Chris and I are working on the budget part. That's where the error is for the state. So we're just waiting to hear from them so we can kick that report back. That report is essentially, that's for bilingual and ELL funding. And that the report is really just saying how you accounted for the funds last year. So it's like a year-end report. Used to be doing the summer, now it's kicked back. The 23G grant amendment was submitted recently. The 23G grant here supports our math interventionists at Simons, and the program report, it's a new method of reporting that seems to be gaining some traction. We're actually reporting through PowerSchool the students that were served by the grant, and then that gets uploaded through Count. So that was a new requirement, but that's been submitted. And the final one, just last week, we submitted the Filter First and Healthy Hydration Grant. That is to meet the new requirements to essentially filter our water for all of our students in our buildings. There's a number of requirements, and thank you to Aaron Miller and Superintendent Gearbaugh for all the work they went into getting some vendors out to get us some quotes on parts and work. We submitted a grant request of a little over $250,000. And we're not sure if we're going to qualify for any of it. So we're sort of on pins and needles waiting to see how we're going to meet those requirements for filtering water. I will share with you that we recently entered into agreement with a company called Kaplan Early Learning. We're going to be piloting a new curriculum program at Young Fives. We're really excited about this opportunity. I know Sean and Tracy Terrace, Sean DeSarbo and Tracy Terrace at Paddock are really excited. Essentially, this program, it's a really solid program. It's endorsed by U of M and their literacy departments. It's bridging preschool education with our kindy through 5 education. The timing is just perfect. We now have a 3rd section of Young Fives with a brand new teacher in it who had a lot of questions. And previously we had a former GSRP teacher, so preschool teacher, and a previous kindy teacher, and they were able to kind of figure it out because it's like kindy light, and they were making it work. And then with our new teacher coming on board and asking some questions, we're like, now's the time to put a program in place. And it's a really good looking program. Tracy, Sean, and the 3 teachers are going to a PD on November 22nd. We have the stuff started here, the kits and the materials are already here. So we're looking forward to getting that moving because it looks terrific. It's going to have accountability measures, assessments. It's going to fit right in between our 2 programs. And also the other part of the timing was our GSRP is growing and gaining traction, and it's becoming more robust in their curriculum resources. So this is going to be a nice little streamlined fit. We hope it goes well. We'll be coming to you later in the year if it does go well for approval for a full purchase. I will also share that this Friday we have a PD day coming up. There's no students. Teachers will be in working with the administrators and instructional staffs. Just kind of a brief overview of what's happening in the buildings. This isn't everything. It's mostly building level training. There are a couple district-wide things that have to happen during the day, but At Paddock, they're focusing on MTSS strategies, trails training they're going to be implementing across the spectrum, starting the implementation this year, and practices for building cohesion and SEL and inclusion practices. They've been spending a lot of time on consistency across grade levels and how we handle students, and even providing resources for folks like Brian and I who visit often, but we're not there all the time, and how we can better address certain students in certain situations. And so that's cool to see what they're doing there. Simons is spending majority time also on behavior and SEL practices. Christy and Tanya also designed 3 breakout sessions where teachers choose 2, and one is around some group like consistency in instruction, also engagement strategies that Christy has a great resource for, and the ability to have difficult conversations with students and parents, because that sometimes is challenging. At the middle school, they are working on a training on a program called IXL. It's a new program we purchased. They got a nice deal on it as like a pilot. It's an expensive program, but we get to pilot it at a much reduced rate. And it's like basically an intervention type program that's aligned to the content areas that they can implement in their WIN time, so that students can dabble in some intervention without like a pull-out intervention. So we're going to see how that goes. They're doing the training for that on Friday, or at least starting that. And they're also spending some time on making thinking visible strategies. They have we call it the MTV landing team of teachers. It started last year at the middle school, and it's being carried forward. So the teachers are actually going to be sharing some practices to get to share what they've learned. And because MTV it's a number of protocols, and so we have landing teams that are experts in a certain type of them, so they're going to share those out. And at the high school, they're working on CPR and emergency response trainings. They're doing some planning work in their focus groups and some team building exercise, and then they'll have some time for instructional planning in their departments. That's it.
That's a lot. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you. All right, next up on the agenda is superintendent comments. Mr. Gearbaugh.
Thank you. Just a few things to share. As you know, our fall athletic teams have competed very well. We still have a few that are ongoing, but for the most part, they're starting to wrap up their seasons, and soon we will be looking to the winter season. So we want to congratulate all of our fall athletes and coaches for their dedication to their teams and their sports. And we will soon be starting boys swimming, wrestling, powerlifting, boys and girls basketball, boys and girls bowling, and hockey. Again, for more information about Milan Athletics, visit milanbigreds.org or follow them on Facebook. I do want to thank our staff for their dedication to the students of Milan area schools. I witnessed their extra efforts all throughout the year, but I can tell you Parent-Teacher Conference Week is definitely a testament to their commitment to supporting our students and families. I thank them all for the extra hours they put in preparing and conducting parent-teacher conferences. The relationships that they build during that week are an integral part of the educational process here at Milan area schools. And again, our attendance starts to dwindle as students get older, and that's similar in all districts. But at Paddock and Simons, we were really close to having almost 100% participation from our families. And we thank our families also for the time that they gave to come and spend time with their students' teachers, learning about how they can help support their child's education. I also want to congratulate Coach Rodriguez, our tennis coach. He was named the 2024 Michigan High School Tennis Coaches Association Regional Coach of the Year for Regions 3 through 15. He earned that distinction as he led the boys tennis team to an overall record of 12-4-4 and a berth in the state tennis tournament. Just huge accomplishments, and we've just seen that team grow over the last few years and their skill set just really develop, and it's great to see another strong athletic team here at the high school. Over the last 2 weeks, we've held our annual internal reviews at Simons Middle School in Paddock. The internal review at the high school is scheduled for next week. Internal reviews are unique to Milan area schools and something that we created years ago as part of our ongoing school improvement process. During an internal review, staff members from the other 3 buildings visit the hosting school to gain information and provide feedback regarding the building's school improvement process. Internal reviews include a building school improvement presentation, classroom visits, and a student focus group, as well as a summary presentation. The school improvement presentation discusses the academic data, the demographic data, and the perception data that we receive from the year-end evaluation, year-end survey that we give to parents, students, and staff. All three buildings did a phenomenal job during their internal reviews. I want to thank the staff involved in preparing and hosting the internal reviews, as well as the staff who attended from the other buildings to make sure that they provide positive feedback and constructive criticism to the buildings as they're looking forward to their plans for implementation for the current year. Pupil counts from the October count day are close to being finalized for transmission to the state. Our preliminary budget for the 24-25 school year was built on the assumption of 1,813 FTEs. Preliminary counts coming in right now place us within about 1 FTE of that budgeted amount. So it's fair to say that our budget is fairly accurate in that area. There are a lot of other unknowns that we'll be working on as we do our first budget amendment in the December-January timeframe. But it's nice to know that our pupil count, which is a large factor in that budget, is very, very accurate, the number that we used in that preliminary budget. Announcement to the community, it did go out already, but due to resignations from our Sex Education Advisory Board, we are in need of several members. Specifically, we need students, parent, and a clergy member. A community survey application was sent out on October 15th. It's also available by visiting the current topics section of milanereaschools.org. The survey closes this Friday, November 1st at 4 p.m. I do want to state that members will be selected randomly from those individuals who met the specific criteria for each type of vacancy. So we'll take all of the parents and we will do a random selection from those parents, and then those are the folks that are invited to be on that board. We do the same thing for the clergy position, and we'll do the same thing for the student positions. The last thing that I have is I wanted to provide the board with an update on our strategic plan scorecard. So what I have for you is a 5-page document. Each page is dedicated to one of our 5 goals. I did list the goal for you, and then each goal has 3 objectives. You can see under each objective, I have put bullet points as to what we are accomplishing in the district to help achieve those initiatives. I'm not going to take the time to go through this document in its entirety, but I can tell you that we are making progress on all 15 objectives of all 5 goals. Obviously, some of them are a little bit further along in their development than some of the others. I know at evaluation time, we will be working through that scorecard, and we will be looking at which of those objectives are green, meaning they're close to completion, which are yellow, which means they're in the middle of implementation, and which ones might still be red because we haven't quite gotten to where we want to moving forward. So again, I ask that you take that home. If you have any questions about any of these things, please feel free to let me know. And again, this is just kind of an informal update to give you some insight into the work that's being done on each of these initiatives, on each of the 5 goals of our strategic plan. I will take any questions right now, but I fully understand. I just kind of handed this to you. We can also add a question time during the next board meeting, so you can review this and then come back with questions then. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gearbaugh. And I do, appreciate this update. And I think we'll put on the agenda questions in regards to this. So, all right. Next up is board member comments. Mr. Farrell.
All right, so I'm going to repeat a lot of what Mr. Gearbaugh said earlier. I think it's worth repeating. First, I just want to quickly encourage everyone to vote in the upcoming election on or before November 5th. With respect to our school district, there are 4 candidates pursuing two positions on the Board of Education. They include Carrie Gutierrez, George Elder, Cassie Pryor, and Gary Tapke. Be sure to visit the district's website to view the recording of the candidate forum in September, or visit 411.org to read about those running for a position on the Board of Education. I also want to, again, repeat what Mr. Gearbaugh said and encourage everyone to review and seriously consider the Milan Area School Sinking Fund proposal. All factual information regarding the fund proposal is available on the district's website. Our request of the community is to collect 1.5 mills on all property in the Milan area school boundaries for a 10-year period. As shared previously, our buildings, facilities continue to age, and the cost of repairs and unexpected projects continue to rise. If approved, the sinking fund will assist the district to pay for things like roofs, parking lots, sidewalks, flooring, lighting, safety and security systems, buses, and instructional technology, which will help us keep general fund dollars in the classrooms and for other important uses. I want to be abundantly clear. Our buildings, facilities continue to age, and the cost of repairs and unexpected projects will continue to rise. Our request for a sinking fund at this time is us, your Board of Education, being proactive and upfront with the community regarding the district's needs. Again, please be sure to vote on or before November 5th. I also want to remind the community about the special education renewal millage. This is a county-wide renewal request. It's for 2.386 mills for a 12-year period to cover unreimbursed costs to provide special education services in Washtenaw County. As this is a renewal request of an existing millage, if approved, there would be no increase in tax rates to property owners. So that's all for me right now. Just get out and vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Farrow. Others? Ms. Pryor?
I just want to say I had a chance last week to attend the MASB Michigan Association of School Boards Conference to do some learning regarding different areas to help with our school. So I was able to take classes on advocacy, ethics, conflict resolution, organizational performance, and budgeting, as well as several small clinic sessions on more on advocacy, how we to better work with our community, to work with our teachers, and the impacts of childhood trauma on our children and their learning. The best course I took there actually though was regarding creating a positive narrative for our school and how we can incorporate all the community and the members of our school districts, everybody who works within the school, to create the positive narrative around our school by utilizing social media and other communications, that everybody take it upon themselves to find one good thing about their school that happened that day in their classroom, on their bus, with their child, something they saw that was exciting, and make sure that the school and community is aware of the one good thing each day to increase the knowledge of all the good things that happen, because a lot of people like to talk about the bad things that happen, but we know that our kids are benefiting 1,000,000 times more by all the positive interactions by our employees and with other students than anything bad that ever happens during the day. So I would encourage everybody to remember that when their child comes home from school, if something good happened, share it with us, share it with everyone, so they can understand, so the community can see the positive things that are happening with our schools. But it was an excellent conference. I really, really learned a lot that I can incorporate, and I look forward to attending more. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Pryor. Others? Ms. Gutierrez?
Mr. Sislo, thank you. I too attended the the Michigan area, it's been a week, Michigan Association of School Boards Annual Leadership Conference this past weekend. I'm grateful to the district to be supporting this for us to get this additional time and training. So while I was there, I was able to connect with fellow board members with our own school board, but also with board members from across the state, have valuable discussions about shared challenges and successes. It's provides a lot of perspective to hear from other school boards and the things that they are dealing with, and I'm more grateful than ever for the wonderful relationship that we have amongst each other, but as well with Ryan and Brian. Thank you. I too attended several workshops focused on critical topics such as school safety and security, student mental health, and building stronger community connections. I completed 2 courses for my training transcript on school law and curriculum and instruction, which were really quite fantastic. So I'm excited to bring these insights and ideas back to share with the fellow board members and our community, and I think it was really a fantastic experience. I'd also like to note that on October 14th, Aid in Milan held their Empty Bowls event. This is their primary fundraiser for the year. And in addition to many community members turning out and helping out, we had 2 Milan area student groups that were really helpful at the event. One was the Milan Middle School National Junior Honor Society, and then one of our Girl Scouts Brownie troops. They were the greeters. And so they all did a fantastic job. They were on top of things, they were helpful, they were respectful. And so thank you to the students from those organizations and their leadership, including Mrs. Jennifer Barker and Ms. Rachel Royal, who led those organizations. As Brian mentioned, Milan Area Schools parent-teacher conferences were held 2 weeks ago, and so I too thank the staff for their hard work in preparing for and spending this time with families. I'm always amazed when I go to those. I walk up, I say who I am, they open their binder, and they have like my students' work and paperwork there and ready. And to think that they're doing that for all of our students is just so remarkable. And it was great to see so many families there and the engagement that we had, and also students. Many of our students attended conferences with their families, which I think as one goes through their education, seeing our students taking accountability and responsibility for that too was wonderful. And then finally today I was a chaperone for a field trip for our 6th graders to the Detroit Science Center. It was a fantastic field trip. I'd never been there. Most of our students had never been there. Our students were extremely respectful and kind, and there were I think probably about 300 other students in the building at the same time. And they just really were quite fantastic with the other kiddos. A lot of them were littles. And so I'm really proud of our 6th graders at how they conducted themselves. And thank you to our teachers for all the planning that goes into that, for our bus drivers for getting us there safely, and for the district for empowering us to do these types of outside of the classroom learning. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gutierrez. Others? Ms. Murray?
Hi, Mr. Sislo, thank you. I will also give a brief, I hope, update on my attendance at the annual leadership conference and share in my thanks for the district's support of us continuing our education and growth this way. I think this was my second ALC, and one of the things that I took away both this time and last time was just the profound level of commitment to continuing education that this board specifically has. It's quite uncommon to see boards send more than 1 or 2 people. And the fact that we were able to have 4 of our board members in attendance is, I think, a testimony to how much we center that professional growth here at Milan. So I was able to complete 5 classes, actually, which was grueling, but so worth it. I have pages and pages of notes. I'm actually working on an advocacy certification, which is an add-on in the CBA program. And I didn't know it at the time, but what they're really trying to do with that certification is build an advocacy army of school board members across the state. I didn't know I was being conscripted in that way when I signed up for this course series, but I'm really excited about it. My far and away favorite class that weekend was CBA 308, which is understanding our state legislature. And I think I learned more in that course than I did in the entirety of high school government. Plus all of my adult years of trying to understand our state legislature and the way that law becomes law and moves through our system of government here in our state, and specifically how that cycle impacts school governance. It was just absolutely wonderful. So goals for me going forward, I'm hoping to attend one of the remaining legislative priority setting meetings. I wasn't able to go to the one in Livingston, but there's one in Oakland County at Oakland ISD in the middle of November. So if any other board members want to carpool and see if we can go there, that would be great. I'm open to that. And then I think one of the other big standouts for me was, it wasn't a course, but it was a clinic session on onboarding for board members. And I believe that we have a wonderful onboarding process. Mine probably looked a little bit different because I already knew quite a bit about the district coming in. I just knew less about being a board member. But there were some really wonderful ideas, so I'm looking forward to thinking about that as a group a little bit as we prepare to potentially welcome new members. And just as we go forward as a board, there's likely to be future turnover as well. So that's another big takeaway for me. And I think on the conference, that was about it. But in other areas, I want to take a moment to thank all of the parents and staff. Mr. Girba was there setting up chairs in a very crowded funeral home. But I just wanted to take a moment and recognize our students in the drumline and our alumni who came to pay such a beautiful tribute to Alicia Upton this past weekend. Myself and Ms. Gutierrez and Ms. Pryor took a little bit of time away from the ALC to come back to Dundee to be there for Alicia's memorial, and it was just an absolutely stunning tribute to such a perfect colleague. So thank you to the students and families and staff that helped to get our drumline students and alumni together to pay tribute to Alicia. It was beautiful. And I had one other thing, and it's gone out of my head. I wanted to shout out the upcoming SEMLA Spelling Bee. It's coming up in just a few weeks, and so if you're interested in volunteering on that, it's a very early morning, but there will be donuts and coffee. So if you're interested in being, a room host, or if you're very, very brave and you would like to be a judge or a reader or any of those other roles, they can always use volunteers at the middle school for that. I will be there, so happy to show anyone the ropes if needed. So that's all for me tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Murray. Others? Ms. Heike?
Mr. Sislo? I lost my, I'm not going to say much more than what Mr. Farrow, Mr. Gearboss said, but I just do want to encourage everyone to come out and vote. The sinking fund is, I think, very critical to our district's ability to continue to compete within the county, and it will just really help us meet a lot of the goals that we've been talking about, and that community members come and tell us are their goals as well. And so please vote and support the sinking fund. And the school board members, there's a lot on the ballot this year that's very important. I also want to reiterate that I hope everyone can support the special ed renewal. It is a renewal. It's not an increase in your taxes. It's just a continuation of a tax that's been there for a while. But it too is very critical to help us provide not only the services we should provide, but the services we're legally required to provide. So it's very important to all of our students that passes. I also want to thank the staff and the parents that participated in the parent-teacher conferences. I have personal knowledge of how difficult that can be that week, not only as someone who has a staff member who's here, but as someone who has 3 kids and you're trying to manage different conferences at different buildings, and it can get very, very chaotic very quickly. But it's so important that our parents come and be partners to our teachers, and I'm so excited that the participation at the elementary schools was so high. That makes me very happy, and so thank you to parents that make that a priority. I want to congratulate Coach Rodriguez. He has brought that tennis team a very long way in a very short period of time. I remember when it was just, a few kids out there, and like 5 kids would come to camp in the summer, and now the teams are huge. He's got middle school teams, and lots of kids come into the camp in the summer because they want to learn how to play tennis, and so he has really done wonders. I also want to wish the girls swim and dive team good luck. The divers started their Huron League meet tonight, and they will finish up on Saturday, and all the swimming will be on Saturday as well. I'm not going to get how many in a row this would be right, so let's just say it'll be very many for Milan, and so I'm sure I'll hear about this later tonight. So good luck to all of them. And I meant to say this earlier and I forgot. So if you are looking for information on the sinking fund, that information is on our website. Also, just stop one of us. We're happy to talk, reach out. Our emails are on the website. If you have any specific questions, please reach out, because it's really important that correct information gets out to the community. And we have it, and we're completely willing to share it. And I think too that I would encourage anyone that hasn't already viewed it to go view the Meet the Candidates forum that's also on the website. I think that is also provides great information for our community as they're making school board voting decisions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ika. All right. So I also attended the MASB Annual Leadership Conference. I do want to thank the district for allowing us to attend. I will mention that many of the courses that we do take are reimbursable through the state. So I know Mr. McMahon goes through that process to go through the classes and get that reimbursement. So I appreciate that. I too attended many sessions. I attended an all-day session on Thursday, which is the Michigan Council of School Attorneys Fall Conference, where several of the attorneys that represent school boards throughout the state provide updates on several things. So we talked about Title IX, what's the line separating church and state, lessons learned from the 2024 bargaining season, school officials and social media and legal pitfalls around that. We learned some things about school district liability and risk management, and then also a primer on superintendent contracts. So all that's, law is not the most exciting for folks, maybe Ms. Heika, but it is important as that is our duty to follow those laws. So some of the sessions that I attended as well was the many pitfalls jeopardizing your capital improvement program. I thought it was might be appropriate with our sinking fund coming up. Another one was interest-based bargaining. It worked for us. It can work for you too. There's a school district that presented on that, especially with the bargaining that Mr. Gearbaugh went through with our various unions. This is just another tool that this district presented, and many of the things that we're doing were presented in that as well. Some of the classes that I took an ethical challenges class, and then a parliamentary procedure class, and an advanced school finance class. One of the things that I asked every board person that I met there, I asked them two questions. I asked them, do you have a sinking fund, and what is your fund balance? I would say probably 90% of the board members that I spoke to had a sinking fund. And those that didn't were seeking one as well. So, and then the fund balance, there's a range of answers. There were several that were well over 20%, some close to 30%. A lot were within the 15 to 20 range. The advanced school finance class that I went to, the gentleman recommended a 15 to 18 percent fund balance. So I think again it's a testament that we have a goal of 10 to 12, and Mr. Gearbaugh and his team have managed to that, and we did have some of those that were 220, and it was that was our intention to get to that level. So it was just interesting hearing from other school board members across the state, as well as somebody that is well regarded in the school finance realm that recommended a 15 to 18% fund balance. So probably the most significant thing for me was one of the keynote speakers. His name was Dr. Adolph Brown. He's a product of public schools. His message was basically, thank you for not giving up on me. He was a young man that had a lot of issues as part of his growing up, and he wanted to thank public educators for not giving up on him. And his message was that we all carry a backpack, and there's things in that backpack that sometimes weigh us down, and it's important to sometimes get those out, share those, and leave them behind. So there's a few nuggets that I did take from that. One of the things I liked that he said was, don't judge the student's entrance by their exit. So I thought that was pretty fascinating. And then he also talked about, he's the 4 E's, it's the 4 echo, that our goal should be to make sure our students are either employed, enlisted, enrolled, or that they become an entrepreneur. So I think we do live that in Milan, and it's something that we always strive to. So that was one of the other nuggets. And then his final nugget, which I thought was very appropriate for Milan, was that he said, "The tree is in the seed. Don't disrupt the seed." So obviously, you know, we can think of all of our children in our school districts as being seeds, and you know, the imagery that we've created around "I will" with the tree, I thought that was very appropriate as well. And I think there's a lot of things that can disrupt that seed, you know, as far as what the children learn and things like that, but it's also their environment. And one of the things that I thought, you know, that also leads to the sinking fund. You know, it's very important that we provide an appropriate environment to our children, and a lot of that revolves around the sinking fund, as far as the built environment that we have of our buildings, the transportation that we provide, the technology that we provide their students for their Chromebooks. These are all things that we do not to disrupt that seed, and make sure that we nurture that seed so that it can grow up into the tree that it's supposed to be. So again, it is very important to go out and to learn about the sinking fund, to get out and vote. Obviously, Miss Murray unfortunately, she was not a product of Milan area schools, and she did not have government from Mrs. Reed. And Mrs. Reed instilled in all of us that our greatest constitutional right is the right to vote. So that's the main lesson that I took from Mrs. Reed, and I implore our community to go out and exercise that constitutional right. So it's very important. With that, that's all I have. Does anybody else? Any other comments?
Mr. Sissa.
Yes.
I'll just add that I got a great government education from Lincoln Consolidated School. This was just better.
Okay.
Yes.
I'll accept that.
That's all. Thanks.
We can compare notes. All right. With that, we are adjourned at 7:47.